Well, it has come to this, boys and girls, the big Shout Factory spring sale boxes. They finally arrived, oh boy. So, this is going to be quite a long one, so strap in. They had a few to get through before that, and so let's just get right into it. So, first of all, the last video, I realized that I had actually forgotten to show one of them. Uh, just got carried away from me, but here it is. It's the Canadian exclusive steelbook of the first of the remake of Piranha series, and it's gorgeously shiny and well made. Got the other artwork there. Um, no 3D disc, but I don't have a 3D TV, so um, but yeah, beautiful looking on the inside and just wonderful. I really love this movie. It can't decide if I like it more or less than the original. The original is really good, and it helped launch the career of Joe Dante. But I mean, this had absolutely beautiful girls in it. It has Eli Roth. It's got Christopher Lloyd. It's got Richard Dreyfuss in the opening, with doing a very amusing send up of Jaws, in a way that's different than what you'd expect. It's very self aware. I think it hits all the right notes, at least for me. Yeah, so we got that was left over from yesterday. We got a lot to get through. Had to make myself a mixed berry, banana, and soy milk shake to get through it all. So hopefully I'll have enough energy. But yeah, this is going to be quite the wild ride, so strap in. But let's get a few things out of the way first. So this one is from Seabrook, Texas. Oh boy. Very quickly, also, that slipcover for the Deadlands, I don't know when that's going to come, but it will come. I mistakenly, in one of the old videos, I said the Darklands, because I can't even read, apparently. I can't even get the titles right when I'm staring them right in the face. But, I'll get better at that. So this first one, this is actually a found footage comedy that some of you may be familiar with. It's called Project X here. And now this is a film that looking at the critical consensus on Rotten Tomatoes, which, I have come to not really trust critical consensi, however you say it. I've come to distrust those, to be honest, because people are studios know that people look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores, and they use them now in the advertising to help incentivize people that, this movie is worth spending your money and actually leaving the house to see, which, fair enough, I suppose, but also, Rotten Tomatoes or any other review aggregate site, like, at best, it's a barometer of what most critics are thinking, and then you compare that against the audience score. But even then, there's been like a lot of review bombing. There's been all kinds of like coordinated harassment campaigns with the Last Jedi, and Captain Marvel got review bombed before it even came out. Things like that. So, and besides, I mean, what some critics says, or even what the audience say, it really doesn't matter. It's what you think. And as long as you know what you think and why, and you can argue your points intelligently and politely, but you also don't back down when challenged. That's what really matters. So anyway, Project X, yeah, wasn't all that well received when it came out in 2012. Remembered seeing the trailer for this when I saw Chronicle in the theater, and it looked interesting, and I finally saw it years later, and part of the reason why I think people didn't like it was because they said, oh, the characters are unlikable and misogynistic, and, oh, there'll be copycat parties and things like that, and, oh, young people out of control and all that. Which honestly, I liked it because I think out of all modern comedies that I've seen, this is the first one that I can really see that really showed um, the unlikability of the main characters in on full display, because so often, like in The Hangover or like in Knocked Up or a lot of other comedies I can mention, a lot of the characters are people that, at least for me, like I really didn't like and wouldn't want to be friends with or be associated with in any way if I knew them in real life. And so I felt like with this film, like we got to see that on full display, and because of the found footage, it has enough of a documentary remove that that we're able to see it fully, and so there's no real spin on it. There's not as much spin as there might be in another kind of film, like a more traditional narrative film. And plus, as insane and out of control as the party gets, and it does get insane and out of control, for me, it's like you could easily. I mean, did you ever see the end of Mother with how crazy that was? I mean, this is like a more grounded, less surreal equivalent of that kind of chaos, and our main characters, they don't get away with it. Things are not like Ferris Bueller where he gets off scot free. They face the consequences of their actions, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's up to you whether you like these characters or not, and the movie doesn't really try to hold your hand or tell you that this behavior is okay or not okay. It just kind of presents it, and I guess that's why I like it, because it's found footage style, and I think it's one of the more it's kind of a standout as far as found footage films go, because I really like the found footage form, the technique, but so often it just gets limited to horror or sci-fi films, and it doesn't really get expanded to other genres like I think it should. So I think this gets some special praise from me for having done something different and something that's not really been replicated since. And again, it's like the people seem to really be okay with like some of the truly unlikable characters that are in some more mainstream comedies. Like they're more comfortable with it in a way that I'm really not. So the fact that they're uncomfortable with those characters, I was like, well, hey, now you know how I feel. So anyway. So this next one is, looks like it's from overseas. I don't even know where it's from. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, it's from the Canadian, no, it's from the UK Amazon store. And it is there's a region-free version of Eli Roth's Cabin Fever. I ordered this, like, I want to say a month ago. It was, again, when I was doing my researches into various films about contagions and diseases because of, what we're going through now. And this is kind of a independent film success story, because if you do your research on this film, you see just what all Eli Roth had to go through to get it made, and it was actually luckily it got bought at a festival, and it was able to come out in a time when a lot of films weren't really getting made because of this came out I think 2002 or 3 or something, and it was not a lot of stuff was getting made because 9/11 was still pretty fresh, so got in there at the right time. It was a different kind of horror film, and he was able to utilize it to ascend to ever greater heights. And lately he's started to branch out a little bit with stuff like The House with the Clock in Its Walls, so he's kind of like, that was a more like family friendly film, so it's like, hey, look at that, he's expanding. Which, I mean, can you imagine if like his contemporaries, can you imagine if like Tarantino did a kids movie? I think it would be good to see him challenge himself, which, I mean, then again, Robert Rodriguez's kids movies have generally not been up to his usual standards. I liked the first Spy Kids when I was a kid, but I only saw the second one after that. But yeah, I'm eager to check this out. I got this one because I thought the cover looked a little cooler than the one we're used to in the United States. So now this one is also from the United Kingdom, and it's got not masking tape, but the whatever the brown kind name of which I can't remember, but it's got that tape on it. So we have to use our trusty nail clippers to get it open. Highly recommend nail clippers for the unboxing enthusiast. And what do we got? What do we got? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad that this showed up. So, I think I mentioned this before, but this is another Soska Sisters film, Vendetta, and it's actually signed by them, which is really cool. Came from the United Kingdom, but this is a region, a Blu-ray. But yeah, it's with Dean Cain in the Big Show. It's a prison, action film. WWE Studios production. I think pretty underrated. I know that there aren't. Oh, cool! Look at that. It's the certificate of authenticity saying that it was actually signed by the Soska Sisters. So how cool is that? But yeah, if you like kind of prison films, which that's kind of a niche. Like I can think of like Escape from Alcatraz, or The Rock is more of a conventional action film, but it takes place. Most of the action is in Alcatraz. Yeah, I mean there are other prison films. I mean that would be an interesting video in and of itself. Just the different kinds of prison films, or like Cool Hand Luke, or even like the beginning of Oh Brother Where Art Thou, where they're on a chain gang, articulate. But yeah, so this is pretty sweet. I think it's got a good amount of just good old-fashioned grit and rawness to it, and I think that they do a good job of directing these two actors. They're both of them are big fans of WWE, and that love translates to that film. Okay, so now on to the main event. We got two very large boxes, and we are just gonna dive right in. Oh boy. One thing I'll say, which again, not surprising considering how much strain and stress I'm sure that they're under right now at Shout Factory's headquarters. It kind of took a while for these things to get here, but again, I'm sure that they are very overwhelmed, so can't really be overly hard on them. I do love the wrapping. That's very nice of them. You could even, I kind of want to even save this for like Christmas wrapping or something, because it's pretty neat. Alright, so we've got 2 in 1. We've got, I'm going to save that. So we got 2 in 1. We got Creepshow, George Romero and Stephen King's big collab film. Used to have this, and again, had to sell it, but I got it back here. And I've been trying to get into George Romero's filmography, including but also besides the Of the Dead films, because that's what he's best known for. But his filmography is wider than that, and this is one of them. I watched his original version of The Crazies when I was learning more about contagions and things like that. So yeah, this was the big collaboration that he did with Stephen King, and Stephen King fans, I'm sure, will be pleased. And so there's the original poster there, which is iconic. And we got our disc there, and then we've got this cool... So Creepshow is a, horror anthology film, which is meant to... Creepshow was not like one of the horror comics from the 50s, but it was done in that style. Like, it was meant to be an homage to things like... crap, I'm blanking on the names, like Vault of Horror and Tales from the Crypt, things like that, which obviously they got their own movies made about them, but it was in that style. But Creepshow as a comic, as a comic book, it originated as a movie. So anyway, so we got our nice booklet here, which I'll be glad to peruse in a bit. We do have to keep the show moving, so I'll just try to move it on through. Oh yeah, Stephen King actually acts in one of the segments, which is kind of interesting. He's done some cameos in some of his things. Like, I know he had a cameo in the Langoliers miniseries that was on TV. Yeah, so anybody that has this, you can breeze through it yourself. But yeah, I know he cameoed there. Come on. Yeah, eager to finally finish this. I started it, but I never finished it. But yeah, I think George Romero as a director, like a lot of his stuff is tragically not as appreciated in the mainstream as it should be outside of like Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. Um, I think the rest of his filmography should be more appreciated. Next up is one of several Steelbooks that you'll see. This was a Roger Corman produced film. They came out in these limited edition Steelbooks that I wanted to make sure to grab before they went out of print. But we got Humanoids from the Deep. I mean, look how pretty that is. Definitely makes our sea creature here look very fearsome. And Roger Corman, like, I watched an interview that James Rolfe did with Joe Bob Briggs, and he was talking about how he asked Roger Corman, how do you feel about being called King of the Bees? And he said, I don't really like it because it implies that there's an A movie that's better than my movie. And then he said, well, what about King of Exploitation? And he said, I love that. And what he was trying to say was that exploitation is marketing, ultimately. And, that's right. You have to have an exploitable element, something that people want to see. So, exploitation films tend to be a bit more explicit than other kinds of films in that regard. But still, with any kind of film you make, you have to give people reasons to want to see it. Because if the only person in the world that would want to see it is you, then you probably shouldn't make it because, well, what's the point? And that's not to say you shouldn't make passion projects. You should, but you also have to think about the people that are actually going to have their butts in the seats for however long, or why should they choose your movie when they're on video on demand looking for something to watch over something else. You have to give people reasons to want to tune in. Just opening these both at once so you can see them. So we got Forbidden World here, which again, another beautiful steelbook there, which looks super cool and creepy. And this is another sci-fi horror one, kind of in the wake of, I'm sure, the aliens or Ridley Scott's Alien, things like that. And then we saw the remake steelbook of Piranha. Well, here's the original Piranha, the Joe Dante one. Saw this first, and it's really, really good. It was called, I think Steven Spielberg even called it the first Jaws ripoff, which may be true, but this film, like, it doesn't really rip off Jaws as much as you would think. Like, the poster kind of does. Like, it's vaguely similar, but it's not, the actual, so it's in a river, it's not in the ocean, the big climactic, piranhas eating everybody, that's at the end, instead of, like Jaws, that's about midway through. Well, there's a couple, shark eating a lot of people scenes, but, like, the structure's a little different, there aren't really any copycat characters or anything, not really any stolen moments, so as far as ripoffs go, it's a pretty darn good one, because any kind of connection it has is pretty tangential at best. Moving right along. It's a nice big box. Might see if I need to save it for any reason. And we got more steelbooks here. We got one more Roger Corman produced steelbook here, another sci-fi horror film, which I know, if I recall correctly, this was the one that, Galaxy of Terror here, again, beautiful steelbook. If I recall correctly, this was the one that James Cameron did some art design on before he hit it big. So, yeah, James Cameron was another one who came from the quote-unquote Roger Corman's film school, one of many very notable people in Hollywood these days that got their start there. So, don't discount somebody's potential just because they came from the world of either indie films or exploitation films, because, they may surprise you. And then next up we got, there you go, Joe Dante again with The Howling. I think this and Army of Darkness, these have to be two of the best steelbook designs that Shout Factory has done. I think I was out of all the gothic horror monsters when I was a kid, werewolves were easily my favorite because I like the kind of duality of man that they represented, and I still love them today. And I've seen more of the kind of thematic richness of vampires nowadays, and thankfully we are now past the age of Twilight where, vampires, I should hope, will make their glorious and gory comeback as being the fearsome creatures of the night that they are. Not sparkly or anything. Alright, so this is one of two very cool, awesome, big ticket items that I managed to find. I wanted to grab these, well, while the prices were good, but also before they sold out of these. So we got Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. If you recall, we looked at Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 1 a couple, however many videos ago. And this one, again, I'll have to save these both for Christmas time because, that's what you want to do around the holidays, is you want to watch people getting killed by a Santa person. But yeah, that's a really cool slip. And then, of course, this has the very famous, very meme-worthy Garbage Day part. And, that's one of the reasons why people remember this film. But yeah, the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, it caught a lot of controversy because of the person dressed as Santa killing people and, parents freaking out about that, Because parents always got to find some new pet cause to complain about when it comes to pop culture. Alright, there we go. So, let's open her on up here. So there we go. There's our disc. And then the original cover, or the original poster, which, it's good, but not as good as the original cover for the first one, and I think both of them have pretty awesome Shout Factory artwork here, which again, they and Arrow both tend to do some of the best artwork, I think. What do you guys think of Christmas time horror films? I think they're pretty cool. They occupy a pretty unique niche in the horror world. I'm thinking of things like Krampus and Ginger Dead Man and all kinds of things. Now, the special edition of this that I got, it came with, the poster. And let's open her up here, if I can. I framed the two Return of the Living Dead posters that I had. I got that off of eBay because Shout Factory themselves, they don't sell the ones with the posters anymore. But yeah, I framed them both and they look great. Trying to get this out of here without it getting damaged in any way. Gotta be careful. There we go. Alright. And it should be the artwork blown up. There you go. That's very cheery, isn't it? Didn't have to get a frame for that one. Gotta start a Shout and Scream Factory poster section of the bedroom here. Alright, and then lastly, the thing that I was most excited about was this exclusive action figure. Which I'm going to probably just leave in its package for right now, but it's pretty sweet. I like his face there. Doesn't he look a bit like Danny Kaye to you? Or like, someone that should be in a more, child-friendly movie, which, obviously that's for effect, but still, I think it's pretty cool. I like that they're doing these exclusive action figures. Alright, so that was the first of the two big boxes. Got the last one here. I might need a drink of my shake here because all of this is mighty taxing on my fragile bones. Need that calcium. There we go. Yeah, did you guys get anything cool in any of those spring sales? If so, let me know. Ouch. I hate this packing tape because it's got those little string things in there that cut your hand. Alright, oh yeah, so this is the other big ticket item. And this one came in its own manila envelope here. There we are. It's Slumber Party Massacre, the steelbook of that. I deliberately tried to stick with steelbooks because I didn't know if... I had hope, but I didn't know, and I didn't want to risk it as far as if I were to order something from the website that wasn't brand new, that I knew came with a slipcover. I didn't want to risk that it might not come with it, which is why, like, on eBay I tend to look for ones that I can physically see that they come with the slipcover. But anyway, there's the poster there, another nice design, and let's see, there we go. So there's the inside, and then I said that it was another big ticket item because it too comes with an exclusive figure of our delightful killer here with his drill thing. But yeah, I mean, so this is put out, yeah, this one and the other one, NECA and Real Toys, put this one and the other one out. And this guy, he looks more villainous than the other one. He looks more appropriate for what you might expect. But yeah, these are both good for display purposes. Got some more cool Shout wrapping paper there. And then this poster here, it actually comes in a decently sized tube, so you don't have to perform surgery like I was having to do. And look at that. Has our little paper sleeve there to prevent it from going haywire on us. There we go. Let's unfurl this bad boy. Oh, look at that. It folds out sideways. That's neat. Must be because of the steelbook design, you know, being illustrated this way. But yeah, looking forward to hanging this one up too. Need to get a frame for it. And that ought to do it. So yeah, I mean, I'm very pleased with this particular haul. I'm a fan of the steelbooks, fan of these figures here. I'm definitely gonna put these next to my I hope to get more like NECA figures and McFarlane Toys figures and just cool things like that, you know, things that are kind of off the beaten track. So yeah, let me know if you guys got anything cool in any sales, and I am going to put these beautiful babies on the shelf. And yeah, so just let me know, like, share, subscribe. Warp Factor 5 set phasers to stun, and I will see you in the next video.